Okay. And it's just that simple. Now, do you see at the little top it says streaming live for you too?
I see that.
See how exciting? Well, hello.
Hi.
World. I would like to introduce you to Kylie, our new best friend here
and
at
it's
Twiniversity.
just that simple. Now, do you see the little top that says
See,
streaming
now
live
I'm
for you
saying,
too?
remember how I said,
See how exciting? Well,
shut up, Nat. Okay, Nat has to be quiet so that I could do this. Okay, good. It was when I was speaking to myself.
Okay, hopefully.
That's what that was. Okay, now we've got the kinks worked out. I would like you to meet the world, Kylie. Say hello to everybody. Everybody. So we met Kylie through our Facebook page. We were very excited, and what we're trying to do is just like if anybody followed my chat that I had with Chelsea, Chelsea's babies are already here, and Kylie has very generously decided to open up her universe to us and give us kind of the inside scoop. So, would you like to make, because my internet is unstable. Are you okay? Could you hear me? You could hear me now?
Oh, did I lose you?
Should be fine.
Okay.
Am I okay? Better
Technology.
now. All right. Julie says I'm better now. I'm getting messages from her. So I think this happened last time too. I was in slow-mo apparently. Yeah, that's what happens. All right. So what I was saying in my regular motion, and if I go slow-mo too, Kylie, just pick it up and my internet might pick back up. I have no idea why it does that, but this happened last time too. But I wanted you to introduce yourself to everybody and tell us why I know why we fell in love with you, but just tell them the same thing that you told us. And really, you're going to be shocked at all that this woman does. She's like super mom extraordinaire.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a good intro. Okay. So I am Kylie. I am 29 years old and I am pregnant with twins at 31 weeks. If anybody wants to see the bump, it's here. Okay. It's proof, and even though some people think that it's not real, okay, it is. So I have a almost 2-year-old son, Tristan, and he's awesome. And then we found out we were pregnant with twins, and it was just a mind-blowing experience. So I can't wait to share with you guys. I have pretty much done every job that you can imagine, but I right now am a health and wellness coach online, and I was a former teacher, so that's kind of my passion. And I'm a military spouse, so there's that. I've lived in Japan. I had my son in Japan, and
Find out more about that. I was so excited about that. I want to know what that experience was like.
I definitely want to share as much as I can about being military and having babies in military, because it's a totally different experience than this time around. And so I love that I get to have both experiences and get to share all those things with you guys.
Wow. All right. So you're 31 weeks pregnant. Tell us how so you already have your son, right? And did we say his name?
Tristan, yes.
Yes, wasn't sure if you said his name. I want to make sure that you say his name. I wrote it down on my little Post-it. So we have Tristan, and then you're like, let's roll the dice and just do this again.
Well, we wanted to have our children close together. We ended up having a miscarriage in July, and then we tried again after that. And it just so happened to take with 2. My husband and I have absolutely no twin history in our family, so it was an absolute shock.
I can't even imagine. How did you tell him?
So he wasn't actually there with me when I found out. I went to my 8-week appointment, and shockingly enough, he kind of guessed it beforehand. He actually was, I was at 8 weeks and I was already showing a little bit, and he's like, wow, maybe there's 2 in there. Like, that's so cool. And you look big. Everybody was saying, you look so big. And I'm like, oh, thanks. But I go to the doctor's and the doctor was like, yeah, you're kind of feeling a little big. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny because my husband thinks I'm having twins. And so she's like, well, we're just going to do an ultrasound just in case. And so she puts the ultrasound right on my belly. And I had probably the worst reaction that you could have. But I saw the baby A, and she's like, and there's baby B. And I said, but I already have a baby at home. Like, I started just bawling, and I was alone. So I couldn't grasp it. And I was just so blown away. So I went through the ultrasound just in shock. Yeah. And then I get in my car, sitting in the parking lot, call him on the phone, and I say, we're having twins. You were right,
Oh my
and
gosh.
He's like, oh my goodness. But he was so excited. So
I could imagine. Now, I know that you just moved. So did the move occur because of the twins?
Actually, no, we had the move planned. My husband's currently transitioning out of the military into reserve duty, and we moved back to Arizona just because we knew that we wanted to be near family with our first son, at least, and all of our family is in Arizona, so that's where we moved. And so we actually did not know about the twins until we were already here.
Okay, well, that's good.
We were living with family, of course, at that time. And so we ended up having to buy a bigger house because we figured out we were going to have more kids than we originally thought. So we just got in. So we've been in transition for the last at least 6 months. Wow. Without anything, living the military life, because military moms out there will know that your stuff is in storage half the year, most of the time. And it's a very long process to get from one place to the other. Okay. And so I'm just unpacking. Of course, I can't really lift much, but I have a great family that helps me. And I kind of just sit on the couch and point to where things go.
So now, so far, 31 weeks and on the day, or 31 weeks and change, how many?
I'm not a good counter of the days. On Friday, I'll be 32 weeks, okay?
Oh, that's close. So you're 31 weeks in a few days. You're almost there. Okay. So what have you done so far? And so I want to know what you've done so far, and then what you plan to do. Like, how do you think, if you could rewind and say, oh, I wish I would have done this earlier, what are the things that you wish would have been done pre 31 weeks?
Oh goodness. I'm pretty relaxed when it comes to parenting. I'm not like a super over planner, and I kind of wait till the last minute on everything. I still haven't packed my labor delivery bag or gotten the baby's room ready. I mean, obviously that's my first priority. This is my office. This is my last priority. I just had the baby shower last week. So there's basically like just presents lying all over the place. I tried to schedule my hospital tour, and they told me, that they wouldn't have availability until like after my due date. And I was like, okay, well, that's not gonna work. So, I should have like scheduled that a long time ago. I don't know. I haven't finished reading your book, and that's what I really
worried about. Guess what? Things you don't have to do anymore. You can put the book down, because now you have me, and I will answer anything. Considering that I actually really did write that book, I know everything that's in there. It's funny that we actually refer to the book occasionally, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, what did I say? What did I say about that?" But we're hopefully going to be revamping the book soon anyway, because so many things have changed in the past few years. So I want to talk about hospital tours today. I'm throwing that on our list of of things that I want to chat about because we don't need the hospital. We're going to take our own tour and I'm going to tell you what you have to look for.
Okay, good.
Okay, so that's good. Hospital tour. All right. Now that's one thing. What about preparation of the room? Like you feel good on timing with that? Because you're pretty good if you're 31 and change. You're not like in the worst situation.
So I think my biggest concern is I still haven't decided where they're going to sleep. Like if they're going to do 2 cribs, if they're going to sleep in separate areas or what, I don't even know. So I have 1 crib from my son. And he's transitioning into his toddler bed. And so that's all getting taken care of, but it's a transition, of course. And so we have his crib in the twins room, and that's about all that's set up. And so that kind of worries me, obviously, but I know like being at 31 weeks, even if they do come, we still have a little bit of time, and I don't want to like stress myself out too much. So
no, you should not. There's absolutely no stress. It really isn't. And I always remind parents that you got to keep it in perspective. Like if you talk, I don't know about your mom, but definitely your grandmother. I don't know, is your grandmother here with us?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this it's always great to have your grandma, because your grandmother will tell you, well, there was barely a crib and your mother might have slept in a drawer and things like that. So it's funny how we make all these plans and we're worried about stuff, but in reality, all the babies really need is you and just a place to sleep. And even though you have 1 crib, you're already ahead of the game. So you don't have to worry about that. So don't get
I've definitely learned how to go with the flow. My son, who was born in Japan, we literally had to move the next month back to the States. So we had his perfect nursery all made up, and it went into boxes for another 3 months. And so we didn't see his stuff for 3 months. And he right now, or in the last 6 months through our transition, he's been basically living out of a pack and play with us. So it's what it is. I can't really do much more than just love on him and make sure he has somewhere comfy that he can sleep at night.
Very, very good. Well, that's all you really need. Like everybody gets so panicky, but we'll be fine. Like you're going to be fine. I wish that in hindsight too, that I was less stressed about the details and just more in the moment. And especially because you have Tristan, you kind of have to be a little bit more in the moment. But the good news is that he's young enough, which I know this is like a negative, right? But if like, let's say he was 7, the twins coming into the world could be a tiny bit devastating, but he's not really going to have many memories of his life before the twins got there. So you're going to have your nice little tribe. So everything happens for a reason. And this is really, really exciting. So now, one thing that you mentioned to me that I thought was interesting and I think could help a lot of people is you were talking about how you had gestational diabetes with Tristan. So so now we know that you have a few markers right now that it could be on the horizon. How did you deal with that, especially with your nutrition background? How did you deal with that the first rodeo, and how do you plan on dealing with it this time around?
Well, gestational diabetes is something I'm like really passionate about because it's something I never thought would happen to me in my first pregnancy. I was a fitness trainer, fitness person. I had, was thinking I was eating right. I gained, about 20 pounds in my total pregnancy with my son, with my first son. And so I never thought that was going to be something that I had to deal with, but you have to roll with the punches, like you said. And with my first son, how I dealt with it was strictly through diet, and it was the most torturous thing I ever had to do, but it was so worth it. I literally had basically meat and veggies every day for every meal. I dealt with it, and the worst, obviously pricking your finger 5 times a day is not fun. And as I hear my son screaming in the background with his Nana, he was just the most perfect bundle of joy once he came out, and there was nothing thankfully wrong, and I didn't have to go to the medication or anything like that. So I just purely dealt with it through diet. but mentally that was like the biggest struggle for me. I actually lost weight during my third trimester with him, and it was just so draining that I wouldn't want to. I have to go through it again, obviously, but it's I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But now in my second time around in it, I just mentally prepared myself. Like the biggest thing is thinking that I'm a failure because of it. You know, I am not a good mom. I'm not doing the right thing for my babies, and I'm not healthy enough and things like that. So putting that guilt aside was something I had to prepare myself very early on for in the pregnancy. So I constantly was just reaffirming myself that, you know, it's what it is. I believe that, you know, it was meant to be, because there's so many different things that came out of it. Yeah. I've connected with people with gestational diabetes because of it, and just we're able to support each other. And that's a big thing, is if you're on social media or something like that, reach out to those other moms that have it, because you can so many times feel like you're just by yourself in the struggle. Yeah. That you are the only one in the world that has to deal with this, or that you are the failure and everybody else is perfect, you know. So just reaching out and saying that I'm not alone was like huge for me. And I've made some really deep connections with people just by like hashtagging gestational diabetes on some of my photos, and then like connecting with those other people that had that same struggle. I was able to just deal with it and create a tribe and community around myself as well.
You know, Kylie, I'm curious to know, for the people that are watching us live, if you are experiencing gestational diabetes right now, just write in the comments how many weeks you are and say, yeah, gestational diabetes. And then what we could do is we could try, and you guys could actually see, like Kylie was saying, you could reach out to each other right within here, right? Because gestational diabetes within a pregnancy is this much of the group of pregnant moms, right? But being a twin mom, it's already this much of the little pregnancy universe. And then of course we're like these little microscopic segments. So what a great forum that, I mean, that's what Twiniversity is for. Twiniversity is really for you guys to connect, educate, and laugh. That's kind of like our 3 goals here. And so it's great. So bringing that up. Now, you did say that you were able to control it with diet, and I'm curious to know, like, what did you modify in your diet that you were able to bring this into control without medication?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm like the best example, because I feel like mine was so extreme. Like if I had blood, if I did my tested my blood after eating an orange or eating any type of fruits, I would have spiked right away. But at the same time, like I definitely, like I was obsessed with drinking orange juice every morning. I had to get rid of the juices. I had to get rid of, you know, fruits, and even though they're so awesome for you. And I personally have like my own protein shake that saved me, because it tastes like chocolate. So it was like the only treat that I was able.
Tell everybody, like, share your, if you found out. What, John? How do you surprise me with this?
This is a surprise.
Oh, my husband just showed up with flowers.
Aww.
Oh, babe. Yeah, I'll take them. Thanks, bud. Thank you, babe. It's my 18th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. That's so amazing.
We're on with 8,000 people, sweetie. Aw. That's nice.
That's awesome.
Thanks, babe. I'll put them there. Oh my God, they're in a vase too. I have to do nothing. That's very fancy. So fancy.
I want flowers. That's awesome. 18 years. Congratulations.
Oh, and we have 3 lotto tickets, so I could hit the lotto again, he just told me, because I already did 18 years ago. Yeah. So there, yes. Thanks, babe. Okay, we gotta go. All right, honey, I love you. Bye.
So romantic.
It is. And there's 18 roses, he just told me. I can't believe it. 18 years. I can't believe that I'm married 18 years. I got married when I was 4, so it all makes sense if you think about it that way. That's what I'm just going to tell people, because I feel like it's crazy. But honestly, without that man right there, I would have never made it through my crazy pregnancy and whatever. And they say everything happens for a reason, but I met him a million years ago, and weirdly, I'm still sickly in love with him, which is really weird after this long. Like, I still see him and I get like a little pitter patter in my heart, and I don't know like how that happened. Like, I do feel like I won lotto, and so does he. It's whatever. I'm sorry. That was a very big surprise. I don't know why he did that to me. It makes me emotional because we're talking about gestational diabetes.
I know, you're making me emotional now. No, I was kidding.
Okay, so I got distracted. I wanted to know the shake that you were drinking, because now I'm going to go right back because I can. I'm amazing like that. So what shake were you drinking? Because then he walked in and I missed it. So what was that?
So luckily, I was already connected to a community of nutrition and fitness. So I use Shakeology, and it's low glycemic. And so I was able to do that. And that was my chocolatey dessert every night. And it has like tons of vitamins and nutrients that also helped with my pregnancy. And like the doctors were blown away with like my son's growth for the first 6 months and stuff like that. So it definitely worked, and it was very helpful to have as a treatment. What's that?
Do they have a prenatal formula? Like, do they have something specifically for prenatal mamas?
It's not specifically made for prenatal, but I actually use that instead of a prenatal because I don't like taking pills. So that was basically my prenatal for the day. And then also eating 5 times a day was like a huge thing for me. So you had to come up with lots of veggie snacks and high protein snacks and things that that supplemented so that your blood sugar stayed consistent.
Very, very good. And so you delivered at how many weeks with Tristan?
I was right on time. So 40 weeks. I think it was 2 days early, but.
And then when did you start seeing it with Tristan? Like, what do you remember when they said, yes, you have gestational diabetes?
Oh, it was right around the 28 weeks.
28 weeks. So you made it 31. So you're 31 with twins. You're actually doing fantastic. So I'm assuming that you applied everything that you did the first time around into this pregnancy immediately.
I would like to say so, but unfortunately, I have given into my cravings. This time, what I did was probably not the best thing to do, but I actually preempted it they were like, oh, don't carb load before the test and things like that. I'm like, if I'm going to do this for another 12 weeks, I'm definitely going to eat some pizza because I will be missing it for 12 weeks. And that's not going to happen this time around. I'm going to get all my carbs in that I can. Unfortunately, not recommended. I'm not a doctor, so don't listen to that tip at all.
That's average mom advice. It's like, if you know you want to see, you're going to roll the dice and see exactly what happens on that test. When you found rigatoni before the test, you got to carb up for the big race.
Exactly.
I don't think you're alone on that. I think many people do that, which is very, very funny. And another thing you mentioned to me before was about exercise, right? So you were talking about how like you're, a fitness instructor and you're so on point with that. But then when you found out that you were having twins, you kind of put a pause on everything. So what happened there? Because there's always moms who are like, oh, I wish I would exercise more and I should be, doing prenatal Pilates and stuff. So tell me about like your background with that and then how it applied to this pregnancy.
So I was actually, before I got pregnant, I was the fitness director at the YMCA where I lived. And I was teaching 3 classes a week, and I did my own workout on top of that every single day. Got that mom bod back. I totally was like ripped abs, all that fun stuff.
God bless you, Kylie. Amazing.
What's that?
I said, that's amazing. I didn't know that those abs existed under here. I imagine somewhere. I'm just going to draw them on with eyeliner.
They're gone now. Yeah. So I was like, oh yay, I got my body back. And of course you're pregnant again. So, but anyways, so I had, like I kind of mentioned that I had a miscarriage in July, and it was very early on. It was like 6 weeks or so into the pregnancy. And of course you immediately feel that guilt. Like oh my God, because I was working out the day before this happened, and I was like, it's my fault, and I did something wrong, and I worked out too hard or whatever it is. So that obviously played a factor in my mind and was constantly there. But as soon as I heard the word twins, I was like, oh gosh, I better not do anything to compromise this. I just want to keep them inside. I don't want, any exercise to interfere. And I think that's a normal mom thing to do as well, but it's not necessarily what my profession would do. Like, I would obviously suggest to people continue to work out if you're working out before the pregnancy, and then if you feel comfortable. But myself personally, I didn't feel comfortable at all. My first trimester, I was extremely sick. I was morning sickness with my first, and this was like double morning sickness because of 2, I guess. And so I just had a terrible morning sickness all day long, tired. I was in the process of moving. So I just put it on the back burner, and I haven't touched it since, which makes me really sad. But also I'm just happy to be pregnant still. And I feel like I might be just over hypochondriac or whatever, and I just overthinking it, like, oh my gosh, I made it this far. I count down every single day, and I just am thankful that I have one more day that they're inside my womb instead of out there. So I can't wait to get back out to it once I'm done and having the babies, and I hope you guys follow that as well. But
I'm excited about that. I'm doing it with you, whatever you do.
Okay, do it.
I'm gonna finally lose the baby weight after 12 years is gonna be my plan. I'm gonna start that. But I'm personally excited to see exactly what happens next. So, did you have a C-section or vaginal delivery with Tristan?
It was vaginal with the first.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm super nervous about what's going to happen.
Okay. Well, you can't think about that now because we don't know what's going to happen. The baby hasn't made any decisions yet. So you know what's funny about us? Listening to you, I could relate 100% to the guilt that you feel. But then sitting here and then being on this side of the fence, I suppose, and listening to parents talk about it, it amazes me what we do to ourselves, right? If you just you felt guilty about gestational diabetes, that had nothing to do with you, it wasn't let's say you were living on super big gulp Slurpees every day. Maybe we could say maybe we did a little damage there, but you're doing so great. And yet no matter how good we do as an expectant mom or even as a mom, you always feel bad for something. And you always feel like something is your fault, which is why it's good that you stopped exercising, as crazy as that sounds, because if God forbid something did happen, you would have blamed yourself for that, right? So just take any elements. And I always say that to any parents that come to Twiniversity classes and they're like, well, I don't know if I should do this. I said, well, if you don't do this and this happens, how would you feel? And if you're like, yeah, it'll be fine. Let's say you have an aggressive dog. Right. So if you have an aggressive dog and you're keeping the dog and you're not getting the dog trained, if the dog does something, what are you going to feel? And they're like, I'm going to feel horrible. Well, then there you go. Think about that and then make the changes. So it's just absolutely crazy. Okay. So that's the gestational diabetes thing. We talked about the nutrition. There's 1,000 things that I want to talk about, but I really do want to stretch this out so that people could look forward to. So in our coming weeks, here are the things that I hope to discuss. Okay. I want to discuss the move, right? I want to discuss nursery planning. And maybe we could do that next week, because if you haven't done that yet, I could really help you with that.
We're planning this week. Hopefully we're going to get some pictures on the wall so I can show you guys.
Okay. We like this idea, but you have not bought another crib. What about mattresses? Have you bought mattresses?
I just have the one for the crib.
You have just the one because now your son's sleeping in a real bed. He's not sleeping with his crib mattress in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got one. All right, so we're going to make a list of the things that you need to get, and I'm going to help you go through that and help you guys make some smart decisions. And I don't know if you know, but if you follow Twiniversity, you might know I'm ridiculously frugal, and I'm not frugal. And even if you have $10 billion and you use money as kindling to start fires, you're going to need that for college. So there's ways to do things smartly And I don't really care. And it's kind of weird sometimes because when I teach classes here in Manhattan, there are definitely families that are like, oh, I'm going to buy this $5,000 stroller. And there's a piece of me that's saying like, that's great. I'm happy that you're in a position that you could do that. But let's buy the $1,000 stroller. Like, let's compromise and let's put $4,000 in the bank that's going to go for tuition and such. So we could definitely talk about nursery planning. And I know that we're getting a lot of questions about that now, but I don't want to keep you away from your son too long. And so I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about maybe creating a birth plan. And it doesn't have to be like a birth plan, like here's my paper and here's the 87 things, but like different things that might be available to you at your hospital that you don't know unless you ask. So we're going to make a list of things that I want you to ask your hospital. And then even though you can't get a hospital tour, maybe we'll do that today so that you could do that by next week. So you have an appointment on Friday?
Next, I have on the 18th is my appointment for the hospital tour.
Which is a week from
Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. So they are going to give you a little hospital tour?
Yes, they squeezed me in.
Okay. So worried that you weren't going to do that. Now, what about packing your hospital bag? We could talk about stuff that goes in your hospital bag, right?
For
because
sure.
We're not in Japan, and I don't know. I want to know about Japan. I'm so fascinated with that. And we have a lot of viewers and readers from Japan. So it would be, we have people from everywhere. Last night, we had 18 people in 1 hour at the same time, all from Greece. And I'm like, so apparently we were trending in Greece for a second there. I thought that was interesting. But Twiniversity is a global group where we're all based. Most of us are based here in the US. We have readers from everywhere because content is content, right? They want 31 weeks in Arizona is the same thing as 31 weeks in Azerbaijan. It's the same thing. It's just the gear and stuff that's different. So is there anything that you wanted to know this week that you're like, Nat, this is like, I got to know this today? Is there anything that was on your mind?
Not right now. I just wanted to mention that, like, I feel like going through it a second time, you, like you said, you kind of like are able to let go of a few things, like, okay, if I don't have a brand new crib and if I don't have a brand new stroller, it's not a big deal. And I don't have to have everything lined up in a row. Like you have, when you're having your first, which I see a lot of even on the Twiniversity, when you're having your first, you're like, I gotta have double everything. I have to have brand new, all the this and that. I'm a very big fan of like resale stuff right now, going around with my second, and I'm able to save lots of money that way and know that they're probably not going to use those toys until at least 6 months down the road. So save your money now and just get the essentials, and you'll see what you need later.
I absolutely love it. Okay, so in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about nursery planning, packing hospital bags, maybe even getting Tristan ready and some things that we could do to get him used to the idea of the twins.
That would be great.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that we could do that I want to help. If you want help, I'm here. And that goes for anybody that's out there watching. If anybody has questions that we could help with, that's what we do. So you could post questions 24 hours a day on our Facebook group, or you could send us a direct message. But send the direct message. Laura is the one that's answering all of the direct messages. But if there's something that she can't answer, everything eventually comes to me. So I don't want people to think we're not leaving anybody high and dry. Just because Kylee is playing with us doesn't mean that you can play with us too. So I'm going to let you go back to Tristan. So today we got a little introduction. Maybe next week we could talk about the difference is between your singleton pregnancy, your twin pregnancy, and get the gear going. How's that sound?
Sweet.
All right. So go back to your reality. And also, if we want to follow you on Instagram or Facebook and you let us, how could we go and do that?
Well, I'm pretty much on every social media. Our business name is Stunner and Gunner Fitness, but also I can also reach out to you guys if you want on there. I have a personal open public page on Facebook and Instagram and all that fun stuff. So
what we'll do is after this, we'll post your information so people could start following you, and then it's just very exciting. And everybody likes to know somebody that's in the same boat as them. And now look, you know a new person. So we just made you a new introduction. One last question before you go: did you find your local twins club yet?
Oh no, I haven't.
You should really find, I believe, what city are you in?
Gilbert?
Gilbert. I have to find out the local twin club by there. If you go to multiplesofamerica.com and you just put in your zip code, it's going to tell you who's the nearest club in your area. But I know that your state has some really phenomenal twin clubs of people that like big twin clubs of people that I've loved for years and years. So I would highly recommend, because also that's where you're going to find that consignment sale.
Oh, good.
Through your local twin club, most twin clubs have like annual consignment sales. So you don't want to wait. You want to look that up like as soon as we hang up, because they're usually in the spring. So it would be happening now, and you don't want to miss that, because then you're literally going to get two of somebody's old stuff, which is perfect timing. All right. All right. We will see you later, alligator. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much, guys. You are not alone. Just know I'm here. Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.